Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really cool puzzle from one of the world's most famous spiritual texts, the Bhagavad Gita, and it all spins around one tiny two-letter word, I.
It seems pretty straightforward, right? But when a god or divine being says I, what are they actually talking about? Are they referring to themselves as a person, as some kind of universal idea, or something else entirely?
So this whole puzzle comes up during this intense conversation on a battlefield between the warrior Arjuna and his guide, Lord Krishna. Now, Arjuna thinks he knows his friend Krishna, but he's about to find out that when Krishna uses that word I, he might not just be talking about the guy standing in the chariot with him.
All right, let's dive in, because if you want to really unlock the wisdom of the Gita, you've got to solve this puzzle of I first.
So what's the secret? Well, it all comes down to this number you see right here, 3. There are 3 totally different meanings packed into that single word, I.
And here are those 3 layers. First, you've got the one we can all relate to. Krishna, the person, Arjuna's friend. Then you have a much bigger I, Krishna as God, this divine being who's come down to earth. And that third I? That's the deepest of all, Brahman, the formless, ultimate reality that's underneath, well, everything.
And this is the real key. You can't just pick one meaning and stick with it. To really get what the Gita is saying, you have to constantly be asking yourself which I is talking right now. Because when that I shifts, the whole meaning of what's being said changes with it.
So let's unpack those first 2 layers a bit more, the person and the God. And to do that, we first have to understand the relationship between the ultimate reality and its creative power.
Here is a super simple analogy that makes this whole thing just click into place. A person has the ability, the power, to sing. But you only call them a singer when they're actually, singing. Keep that idea in your head.
That's exactly how God is being defined here. The ultimate reality, Brahman, has this creative power, which is called illusion. God is the name for Brahman only when it's actively using that power. Just like our singer, Brahman only gets the title God when it's in the act of creating.
Okay, so God is Brahman in action. But what exactly is Brahman? This is the big one. This is the absolute foundation of this whole philosophical framework. And just look at the contrast between Brahman and its power, illusion. It's like night and day. On one side you have Brahman, it's real, it never changes, it's totally independent, and it has no form. And on the other, you have illusion. It's always changing, totally dependent on Brahman, and it's the thing that creates all the names and forms we see in our world. So just to be really clear, illusion isn't some separate thing fighting against Brahman. No, it's a power that belongs to Brahman. And since Brahman is eternal, without a beginning, its power has always been there too. But the crucial point is that illusion can't exist on its own. It's completely dependent on its source, on Brahman.
All right, let's put all these pieces back together. Now that we've got a handle on Brahman, God, and Krishna, the person, we can see the full picture and really understand why that context is so important.
So here it is, the complete hierarchy. It all starts with Brahman, the formless foundation. When Brahman acts, when it creates, we call that active principle God. And then, a specific earthly manifestation of that one God is Krishna, the person. See? 3 layers, all flowing from one single ultimate source. Now, this idea of a single ultimate God usually brings up a question, and it's a good one. If there's only one God, what's the deal with all the other deities you hear about in the Hindu tradition? Well, the explanation is pretty neat. Think of the one God as a complete body. All the other functional gods are like its hands, its legs, its eyes, each with a special job and identity. That's why a devotee might choose one as their personal or family deity. But here's the kicker. That's a 4th meaning, one used by the followers, not one of the 3 meanings Krishna uses when he himself says I. And that brings us right back to the main point. Context is the key. It unlocks the whole thing. Reading the Gita isn't just a passive activity. You have to be a bit of a detective. Every time you see that word I, you've got to ask, is this the friend, the God, or the ultimate reality speaking? Answering that question is how you tap into the text's deepest wisdom.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. If a simple word like I can hold so many layers of reality, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other profound meanings might be hiding in plain sight, in all those other stories and texts we think we already know? Thanks for joining this explainer.